Hi, this is Rizwan, and you are watching the Indian Weekender. The COVID pandemic has left people all around the globe stranded away from their homes, their families, their workplaces, with people losing their jobs and their livelihoods. A few lucky have been able to make it back home, but that too has come at a considerable cost, both financially, mentally, and in time dollars. People who have returned back home somehow have had to go through mandatory quarantine or self isolation for at least 2 weeks so that if they had contacted the virus, it subsides or gets detected within that time and community transmission can be avoided. Today, we are going to speak to a New Zealand citizen who was stuck in India for more than 2 months and returned home to New Zealand at the first possible and available flight in June. We talked to Aucklander Rachna Vijan about her journey through these compelling times, going through managed isolation, and how it affected her mental well being, bearing the stress of the travel and pandemic. Hi, Ms. Rachna, how are you doing today?
Hi, good Rizwan. How are you?
I'm doing very well. To start off with, we would like to know and when did you travel to India and when did you return back?
Look, I traveled to India end of February. My dad wasn't well; he was hospitalized, so that was my reason to travel back. And he'd been in and out of hospital for a couple of months. So I wouldn't say I was stuck because I wasn't going to come back anyway. But unfortunately, he passed away in mid-May. So that's after that I was looking at that I need to come back. So got the first, the flight back. Not first, actually, there were two other flights, but I guess this was the Vande Bharat flight, the first flight coming back on 5th of June.
Flight, how was your flight back to New Zealand and what kind of precautions did you take then?
Um, so, uh, so look, there were precautions taken in terms of the flights were providing you with a mask, a shield. Unfortunately, there was no social distancing, but the people sitting in between seats were, they had like those, not quite a pep suit, but they had the whole white gown to wear and the shield. Um, Other than that, it was a contactless flight. So there was food parcels left, on your seat, and pretty much that's it. There was no contact with the flight attendants, and there was nothing else provided.
Once you landed in Auckland, how was your journey from the Auckland airport to the hotel and then onwards?
Look, the journey, I mean, Auckland Airport was quiet because obviously there were no other flights at that time. So it didn't take us long to go through. It was good to see that, it was a bit more, Auckland was a bit more, New Zealand was a bit more settled than coming from India, where, there's a bit of, there was a bit of scare with the COVID. So everybody was in masks, and so it wasn't the case here. But we were escorted to the coaches, to the bus, and we didn't really know where we're going until we actually got to the hotel when we knew where we are. And in the hotel, there were nurses doing a checkup and taking a temperature checks and getting some forms filled. And then our luggage was all taken and taken to the room, so we escorted to the room.
So once you went back to the hotel, of course, you couldn't catch up with your family because you had gone into this isolation. So how did you manage your time? What would you do during these times? And how was these 14 days? How would you describe it?
Um, so the 14 days, look, I think it's different for everyone. It depends what their state of mind is.
Absolutely.
I had gone through a lot of, ups and downs during my stay in India because my dad wasn't well and I was on my own. There was lockdown, so there was no one with me except for my family, being on the phone all the time with me. So look, I was prepared for the 14 days, and the reason was that I was glad to come back home, to get back with the family. So I was quite prepared with that. So the 14 days were all right. I mean, I kind of made a routine. I could walk a little bit in the lobby, and there was a small area outside, and do a bit of just read and watch Netflix and do other things. And then after a few days, I started working from there as well. So it was okay. I would say it was neutral as much as I wanted to go back home. My family, my husband, and my son came to see me from outside from a distance. So,
Right.
so that
Was
was
that the
nice.
from the balcony or something?
Well, my room was actually facing the street, so I could see from the window. So
Right.
yeah, so they came to drop off food a couple of times. So yeah, I mean it was okay. The hotel was I would say the hotel was really good. I mean they did look after people.
Mhm.
They organized a yoga studio. They created a yoga studio with obviously a lot of distancing, and they had an online yoga class. So that was good to go and
So
just have something else to do.
you did mention that but it's an experience. Everyone has a different experience because from where they are coming from, what their
Mm,
status is in their personal life.
yeah.
So with these 14 days, I mean, of course you already had that family trauma that you had at the back of your head, and then this
Mm.
came along. Did it pile up with this happening, staying away from the family? Did it have any kind of effect on your mental well-being? How did you cope with that?
Look, I was prepared. As I said, I was glad to be back. I've never been away from my family more than 10 days, and this was almost 4 months. So
Hmm.
and in that whole period, you kind of you've gone through so much that you become neutral and let things go by each day. So I think that's how I was. I used to talk to my husband so many times a day, video call with the family, my kids, talk to my friends. So, it kept me busy. It kept my mental balance well. Um, I did work out a little bit in the room. So, so I kind of created a routine after a week that, this is what I have to do. So which was good. So that kept my mental balance well.
Right. And right towards the end, when, after day 10 or day 12, when the quarantine was about to end in a matter of 3 to 4 days, what was the drill that happened that after which you came out and joined your family?
So we used to get a call from the nurse every second day to ask if there are any symptoms or anything, and then the nurses used to come and visit every second day. So the alternate days. So one day they used to call, and one day they used to come and check, if we're doing all right, and do a temperature check and see if we have any symptoms. Um, Third day, I didn't really hear anyone asking that if we have to do a COVID test. But 10th day, they said, I said, are we going to get tested for COVID? And they said it's voluntary. So I decided that I would like to get it done. So I signed up for it, and I went on the 12th day. And so it was voluntary till the 12th day. But I think by that time, the two ladies, the first two ladies,
From
after
the
a
UK.
while, yeah. So after that, I think there was a mandate that it has to be made mandatory. So everyone else started getting tested the following day.
Hmm. Right.
So I
So,
think that did create a little bit of chaos, because when I was leaving on the 14th day or 15th day, I got my test result till then, so it was negative, so I could leave. But everyone else who started the test a day after, they didn't. Not everyone got their test results, so it was a
yes.
bit chaotic because they had to wait, and I'm not sure if some had to actually stay back as well.
Right. So once you got the green signal that you can, join back your family, how were
Mm.
you? How were you received by your family and friends when you went back home? Was there any kind of what do you call it, apprehension that since you had just come out of quarantine?
Well, my husband was looking forward to having me back, so he was there, and my daughter doesn't. She studies in Dunedin, so she wasn't here. My son had exams, so I could only see him after a couple of hours. But friends, some close friends did come and see me, irrespective. I'm sure everybody had this in mind that maybe we should wait, and I had that in mind as well, to be honest. So some did come and see me, which was really nice, and some obviously visited after a week or so. So still meeting friends. But it was really good to be back. You just it's very different. I tell you, coming from any other country. I came from India. It was a different feeling. It feels like, oh my God, this doesn't sound, this doesn't look real. When you go to India, it's anywhere you go. My 2.5 months were in hospitals and different places where I was kind of, I felt like I'm exposed, but fortunately I was good. So I think we're in a good place.
Did at any point of time during this journey, I mean, back in India, traveling in a packed flight to New Zealand and then going through quarantine, did you feel that, did you have any kind of fear that you might have, by any chance contacted this virus and,
Look, there was a fear all the time. I tell you, even right from getting to the airport, getting into the airport, getting to the security, everything. There was a scare all the time, because people. It's not only about wearing masks; it's about people touching, railings and um, your luggage. I mean, even the security staff wasn't touching your luggage, so you had to put your luggage in. The security pick it up, and if they wanted to check, you had to open it and show them. So nobody was touching. So people were taking precautions, but there was a risk all the time, to be honest. So it's like you never know, right? You're using the bathrooms in the flight. Who's been
you are
so?
using the
So this,
facilities,
yeah.
you are in that confined space, so uh, there
Mm.
was always this kind of fear, you say.
Yeah, yeah, and back in India as well, there was always a fear because I was, in hospitals with my dad, and going to the blood bank and going to different places. So these are always, always, high risk places where you don't know who's been.
Thank you so much, Rachna ji, for sharing your experience with us. You have been one of the fortunate people who had a better experience, and you had cruised it
Absolutely.
happily and safely. That is the best part. So thank you for sharing this information with us, and I hope you keep well and your family as well. So viewers, if you have traveled overseas and would like to share and you are back in New Zealand and would like to share your experience with us, do contact Indian Weekender. We would love to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again on Indian Weekender at 5. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.